Okay guys, we are going to do now the exercise in page 97, but before you start, we're going to do some groups now, but before you start, we are going to check some the topic related to articles that will help you do this exercise. I make this outline or summary for you to understand it in a different way, okay, but with more detail, with the type of articles that we have. There are three types, actually two: definite, indefinite, and then zero. I place it here in some scenarios in which we do not use the article. Okay, for the definite ones, who knows the article, the regular, okay, right, it is the. Okay, and for indefinite, when we are okay, mentioning something in general, more generic, okay, it is a or an, right? It depends when we, in general, when the beginning of the noun is a vowel. In this case, we will use an. We are going to talk about the definite ones, okay? We have different types. Let's start by classes, the first one that we have. Let's do the following example. The tiger is threatened with extinction. But we have here that tiger is, we are not mentioned a specific tiger, but the tiger as a species, okay? In this scenario, okay, we use the definite article. Then we have national groups, like, for example, the French or the English. Okay, this is another use. Here we have, these are groups as whole, okay, the French, the English, we have them groups as whole. Then we have other groups, for example, the social, democratic, or the Rolling Stones, everybody knows. There are another groups, musical groups especially, that if they are in singular, we cannot add the article the. For example, Pink Floyd. Let's go ahead. Unique objects. We have the moon, the sun. For example, in this case, this planet has a small moon. The A is an indefinite, okay? So, this is to show you that there is not a fixed rule for everything. So, in certain cases, depending the context or what we want to say, it will be the proper article that we will use. Let's go ahead with titles. The director of studies. There are other titles. For example, in newspapers, we have the Sunday Times. Or we have, for example, books. We are going to include here the pantone of the opera. Let's go ahead. Now we have musical instruments. For example, here I'm going to show you two examples as well. Jane plays the flute. In this case, we have a description, okay? When we say Jane plays the flute, this is an ability that we want to stress. In the second case, we are using an indefinite article because we are describing an activity. That's the difference. Geographical names. Here we have several examples in which we have rivers, oceans, compass points. We have, yes, the unique features. Well, the following is place names. For example, the tower of London. Then let's go for emphatic use. This is, I'm going to write here. The hotel is the place that we want to emphasize, okay, and stress the noun here. So the hotel is the place to stay. The last example that I have here is, I want to show you. I live in London most of the time. Compare with this is the most expensive hotel. Let's check now the indefinite, and we will use, we have three categories: shorts, in measurement, and unknown people. For shorts, for example, we are going to enter as an example, Tony is a builder. Here we have a builder as an ability again, and the builder of this house is describing something that he did. In measuring, for example, 3 times a week. And then we have unknown people, for example, a Mr. Jones called while you were out. Well, 0 names, the last part, we are going to include, for example, Pablo Picasso is one of my favorites. Pablo Picasso a Pablo Picasso pictures, let's say, hangs in MoMA, New York. Then, some unique organizations we have, for example, that do not use parliament. Well, and finally, the last one, we are going to consider streets, okay? So, most streets do not have an article. For example, Green Street, or we can say Godwin Road, okay? But we have certain exceptions that will be, for example, the High Street. In this case, we have article, the Drive as well. And then we have the most famous street in the world, the Fifth Avenue. I want you to, I love when you are paying attention, you are so concentrated checking this. You will use this as a summary, okay? And please go ahead and let's do the exercise in page 97 as I told you. We will range in pairs, okay? So you can do the exercise together.